I was able to speak with somebody that was so cocky. And I remember telling him, I know you from Look Who's Talking. That's all. And I remember everybody laughing at me because I was 15 and I'm like, the only thing that I know you from, John Travolta, is Look Who's Talking. I know there were many comedians, Kathy Griffin, Robin Williams. I was on an order for Joe Biden. I was taken to somewhere where there were there was an orgy party. There was a contest going on. There's a certain part that has a shrine where I was taken. I was taken and told that I had to give a blowjob to Biden.
So Joe Biden was there at this shrine.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll introduce what I know about you, and then you can get further into it. So you were a child that was, by your own mother, given up to authorities for sexual acts.
Yes. My bio mother was always involved and dated the authority that was around me, whether that was a principal, a campus security guard, a doctor of mine, someone on a child protective services case, and that includes a chief of police that was coming into my room at night when I was 13, 14.
How young were you when this started?
CPS reports say that I was 3 months old. I remember as far back as to when I was 4. The first time that I was in shock from something that happened to me, the first time that it was just too much for me to handle. And at that time, I didn't know, it was so much that was already in the family. And I was always told, what happens in the family stays in the family. We were always taken away from certain people if we talked too much. So there were so many things going on within the home, from her and other people in the family doing so many illegal things, besides doing things to their own children. So it was something that I always felt there's something wrong, but I was always told it was normal what was going on. But yeah, I was about 4 years old the first time I was assaulted, raped. I was with my babysitter, and this woman as well had many connections to what I call my surrogate. I don't call her anything close to a mom. I have a real mom that I'm adopted by now, but I don't call her anything close to a mother. But she was involved in many ways. I was with a babysitter that kept trying to take me into a room, that kept trying to get me to lay down with her boyfriend. And that's the one day that I remember fighting. I remember screaming so loud. I thought I was 6 years old, but looking back into legal documents, I was 4. And I remember after being hurt, I was locked in a room and I was beaten because I was fighting. And then I was put outside to sit in a driveway for hours because I was told it was my fault. After that, it was taken to court. It was the first thing that I remember that was taken to court because the bruises were so bad. Everything that happened was so bad that it had to be. And the court case, I remember sitting in the courthouse, and I remember her losing the case and it being my fault that something happened to me. So, from there, things continued, and, being 4 in a court case and not knowing why you're in trouble for somebody hurting you. Moving on from there, I was confused about everything that happened. Is this okay? I started asking questions when I hit elementary and middle school of other students, like, how do you get in trouble? Is this something that happens to you? Because it was always something that happened to me. I was always told I was the favorite. I was told I was the one that everybody loved more, and nothing about that was love.
So to clarify, this is actually on record with Child Protective Services that these things were happening to you, and this is why you ended up in foster homes.
Yes, this was one of the reasons. Going on, I was abused so much that I was working in strip clubs by 12 years old. I was very confused. But to be honest, because I didn't know any better, I was very hypersexual as well. And by 13, when, because at first it was just her boyfriends coming into my room at night. And then when the police officers came into play, they were taking me in my own closet and hurting me with the hangers and the things that were in my own closet. And then, I started running a lot. I started fighting a lot. I wanted to kill myself. I didn't want to kill myself. I wanted the pain to stop. So I tried everything, because it was always my fault. It was always something that I did. It was always, they loved me more. And this was something that I deserved. And after I started running so much with her dating police officers, married police officers, he started calling his friends to pick me up. He started calling his friends to meet me somewhere. They would pick me up as an officer on duty, and they would take me somewhere behind rocks. They would take me to empty car dealerships and park their cars the wrong way. No one questions them. No one, anywhere, everybody can say, no one questions the police. If you see them sitting the wrong way, if you see them doing something and you see them with somebody, you automatically assume that they did something wrong and that the police are going to fix it and that they're there to serve and protect. And that's not always the case. I know that there are some good officers, but they're very few and far in between. And there's another side of the badge, and it's called the Freemasonry Brotherhood Police, the Freemason cops. And they do a lot of corrupt things. They bury a lot of things. They bury a lot of evidence. They do things and they get away with it. And covering up for elite pedophiles to low-level pedophiles. Everybody looks at the top, but covering all the way from the top to the bottom and in the middle, they cover for these people. They make sure that nobody asks any questions. They make sure that this is something that is silenced. It's made to look like it's someone else's fault. And after so many times of fighting them, being arrested and put into cars to be used, they would bring other girls, they would bring other kids. And I never met anybody else when it came to them. It was just they were bringing other kids. After so long.
Sorry, Ali, these Freemason police officers, do they exist everywhere in the world?
They exist everywhere. And unfortunately, it's in every department. It's everywhere. There's another side to the badge. There's always been another side. And I know that it's existed way before me. And unfortunately, I think it will exist after me, because no one is brave enough to say anything. No one is brave enough to clean their own house. And even if you are someone on the force, if you try to acknowledge and if you try to turn somebody else in that's on the force with you, you get harassed, you get hunted down, you get stalked for the rest of your life. And this is what's happening now. after I spoke about them, we have gotten pulled over in every single state with no ticket, no logical reason, just harassment. 8 different states, excuse me. We've got pulled over in 8 different states with no ticket, no logic, just where is your car? What are you doing? How long will you be gone? We had someone make a house call and told me they were watching my Instagram and they wanted to make sure that I didn't press charges on someone who decided to hop my gate back in California and tried to come into our home.
So this is you've essentially been on the run now for some time, moving from place to place, and I want to get into that. But I want to ask you, so these corrupt police officers, these Freemason police officers, the other side of the badge, is this the reason why the abuse continued when you went into foster care? Because essentially, from what I know from your story, the abuse didn't end with your mum. It continued well into when you were, a child of the state. So can you tell us about that?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
After so many times 13, I went into the hospital for a month for trying to kill myself. In that time of being in the hospital, I kept trying to talk to everybody. I kept trying to tell them, they were coming to me and saying, hey, you have to talk to us. And I'm like, you guys don't understand. I've tried to talk since I was a baby. I've exhausted everything and nothing is coming of it. There are people strategically placed everywhere. I was thrown into solitary confinement because of so many things that were going on within the hospital as well, that I was seeing for myself. And it's crazy because so many things were placed in my life that people know me before I know them. I was put into foster care at 13 after my time in the hospital. I thought that everything would calm down from there. I thought everything would be okay. I thought it was going to change and, I was going to be able to go to school and everything would be fine. And that was not the case either. I thought that I was getting into things on my own sometimes. Like I said, people were strategically placed in my life that I never knew who they were. People would walk up to me and say, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful all grown up. And weird things like that I don't know who they are. I don't have a picture of me as a child. I don't know who certain people are or who most people are. And being put into foster care, my foster parents were paid off by pimps. I started talking to some people thinking that I was talking online or, doing things myself. And met up with some people who turned out to be pimps, but they already knew me. I thought I was in a relationship with someone. I thought they loved me, they cared about me. And my foster parents were paid off by them. I was in foster homes to group homes that I lost count. I went to 19 high schools in 1 year. I never stayed anywhere long enough to have a home, longer than 2 weeks to a month. At one point, my foster parents didn't speak any English. I was put into homes with teenage male siblings, foster siblings. I was in homes where my foster parents would try to do things to me. My foster dads would try to do things to me. I would talk to my social workers. I was hushed and moved again.
Do you believe that these particular homes that you were put into were people that were also potentially strategically placed, people that were known child abusers? Yes.
I never went to one foster home or one group home that wasn't reported because of something bad happening. And it's shocking. I know somebody is like, well, I know some great foster homes and some great foster parents, and there are, but not for me. And I feel like CPS knows where to strategically place people that they want to continue raking in money for. I was deemed as a high-risk kid. I was a problem child. I was someone that you received more money for because of the issues that I had. And I was a runner. I had a lot of things going on. And my social workers were never, they were always covering things. They were always afraid of the repercussions because still what my last name used to be. There's an automated that calls home for schools and to tell you that your student may have been tardy in class or absent. And I was in schools where I was strategically marked present, even if I wasn't in school. I was able to go back and forth to school sometimes. So some days I was sitting there, but my teachers were bullying me as well. My teachers knew about what was going on. My teachers tried to participate in the things that were going on. They felt like if somebody else was hurting me, it wasn't a big deal if they take part in it.
And from what I understand, from what you've said as well, that some of these teachers facilitated in you being trafficked, which is what started happening to you. Underground tunnels leading you to different places. And
yes.
You're saying teachers facilitated this process?
Yes.
Could you talk about that?
My major high school, one of the major high schools when I was 15, Carter High School in Fontana, California, was marking me present. I started trying to speak to guidance counselors, to my teachers, trying to tell someone, hey, can you guys help me? And I remember a guidance counselor that tried to speak to the SRO, the school resource officer on campus. And the school resource officer's response was, I know this person. I know the pimp that I was with. He kept saying, I talk to him all the time. I'll just fix it. I'll just talk to him. After my guidance counselor turned in pictures, tried to call my social worker, was talking to my mom that adopted me now. She was suspended and then eventually was fired without any reason, and someone else took her place. There are underground tunnels that are under the schools, elementary, junior, and high schools all over the place. They exist everywhere.
You've been in
I'm
them.
sorry?
You've seen
yes.
These? Been in these?
Yes.
Where do they lead?
They lead to amusement parks. They lead to hospitals, cemeteries, schools, celebrity homes, psychic shops. They lead everywhere.
You mentioned in one of your previous interviews that it's like a whole other world down there. Can you describe it to us? What happens down there?
Yes, there's every means of transportation. There's every walk of life. There's cities. There's different air supply. There's at 15, my pimp put me on an order to go to the Getty, Los Angeles, California Museum. I was told I was going to walk through a field trip. I was taken with another girl. I call a friend of mine. And we were put in dresses and sandals. We were taken in a sports car. We're not taken in a sports car. We pulled up to the museum in a sports car. We were told that we were trying to give a different appearance. So we were walking through, I remember walking through kids. I remember walking in and seeing school buses. I remember walking in and seeing children and chaperones through the museum. And I remember people staring at us as if it was as if we were somebody special. We walked through the museum. There are, employees that know exactly what's going on in the museum. They block the doors. They know where the entrances and exits are. They take their orders from someone else when someone is trying to get underground through the Getty Los Angeles Museum. I was walked through. I remember taking stairs, going through a garden, taking an elevator. I was drugged, but I was walking. There are many situations in trafficking where you can be alert. Some of my pimps did not let me see where I was going. Sometimes I was so drugged that I was carried into a job, dressed, and then placed in a room and waiting for my order because I couldn't move myself. So at this time, I was able to walk. I was able to see what was going on. And I remember walking through. I remember talking to certain people after we got so far. I remember my ears popping. I remember feeling like I'm choking because the air was so weird. We got to a certain point and there was, it looked like a basement. It looked like where they keep things that were not public display in the museum. And after getting so far, we were in tunnels. We were put on cars, drove to a certain point, bar. I seen I seen cars, boats, there's trains, there's buses, there is every means of transportation under the ground. There's a city under the ground. There are there's a different air supply that kicks in after you get so low.
And who goes down there?
After getting down there, I talked to a few people. I was able to meet celebrities, actors. I'm not a person that knows somebody just by name or by face or right away. I was somebody who remembered somebody from a movie or something like that, or something that they did. I was able to speak with somebody that was so cocky. And I remember telling him, I know you from Look Who's Talking. That's all. And I remember everybody laughing at me because I was 15 and I'm like, the only thing that I know you from, John Travolta, is Look Who's Talking. I know there were many comedians, Kathy Griffin, Robin Williams, I was on an order for Joe Biden. I was taken to somewhere where there were there was an orgy party. There was a contest going on. There's a certain part that has a shrine where I was taken, and what I mean by shrine is it was bones. It was things that have happened to other people. They take shrines. They take like a trophy, whether it was a ripped shirt, panties, hands, pieces of flesh. There's a smell that you can't even flinch towards down there, but you will. There was shrines.
Are they used for any type of rituals?
Yes, they're used for a lot. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm like not talking right. I'm sorry. Yes, there were shrines used for rituals. There's bloody places. There's parts where there's limbs. People cut off limbs and want you to have sex in it. There's blood. There's blood that I don't even know who it belongs to. There's a lot.
So hang on. So someone like the people that you've named are here at these shrines where there is human flesh, bones, human body parts, and they want people to participate in orgies in amongst all of this human blood. Is that a satanic ritual? Feces? Is this a satanic ritual that they are participating in?
Yes. Yes, there's people who want to, there's people who have sex with animals, dead animals. I was taken and told that I had to give a blowjob to Biden.
So Joe Biden was there at this shrine.
Mm-hmm. Something happened. I don't know what happened. I was down there for a while. There's certain people that you don't talk about because you just don't. There were certain people that I seen down there, from Beyonce, Jay-Z. You don't tell on P. Diddy, but P. Diddy.
So you said you don't tell on these people. Is that like a code that all victims adhere to? They don't talk about this stuff?
Yes, you don't, because nobody's going to believe you. You're nothing to them. You don't count. You're just a toy. You're not essential, as they call them. You're expendable. And as a child in that situation, I wasn't the type of person that was fighting all the time, because I started to learn who I was. I started to learn my pimp. I started to learn what I was in. I started to learn that you don't fight. You watch what you say, you watch what you do. And at some point, I stopped fighting people. And I started to accept the fact of what I was told, that I was special enough to be with this person. I was special enough to be in the eyes of a celebrity or somebody who's on the radio or on TV. And I accepted that. While I was down there, there was something that happened. I don't even know what to call it. There was something that sounded like an earthquake, something that sounded like people got into a fight. There was a shooting. I was taken from one room to another, and then from there, someone left me there. I started moving and trying to get out of where I was. I was with the friend that I came in with, who was freaking out. She was hyperventilating. She was crying. She was trying everything to get out, and it made us get deeper in. The lower you go, the harder it is to get out. No one knows where the doors are. No one knows where the exits are. No one knows where some of these tunnels lead to. So it's not as easy as just say, I'm just going to get out, or I'm just going to try to find a way out. If you are walked in, you're escorted in, somebody has to help you get out. after what happened, we had to leave. Again, I don't know what was going on. I'm still not sure what happened that night.
How young are some of the children that are there?
Babies. There's a baby farm that exists. There's all ages. There's kids who don't act like kids. They act like wild animals. They hiss at you. They act like wild animals. They've never. I know some of them have been there since probably birth or before. There's children of all ages. There's people who have been there since they were babies, but they're adults now.
And how long do they stay there? Till what age?
I don't know. Till whatever happens to them happens, and whatever their time is. There's baby farms that exist underground. Your hospitals are complicit in giving babies to baby farms. And when I say, I'm talking newborn babies fresh out of the hospital, that people take pride in raping, having sex with, hearing their bones crack, eating, using them to participate in rituals. I've seen a lot of things, and I've seen a lot of my friends die. There's so much that goes on.
And it's not so these particular things that you're talking about now, these extreme, horrific acts, this is reserved for the elites. Is that correct?
Yes. They get away with eating, beating, torturing, buying children from many places, and it also feeds their career. Selling your soul doesn't necessarily mean selling your soul for money. It means selling out for things that you're willing to do, things that you're willing to sacrifice and compete with somebody else for, because if somebody is known for ripping a child's face off, frazzle drip, and cutting their face off to wear it and mock a victim and use it as a dedication to what they call their God, then people compete with that. Everybody is competing with that. Trying to do something equal or worse.
Are they open about who their God is?
Sometimes. Some people will act as if they're a Christian, will act as if they're a everyday religion that so many people.
We're having sound trouble again. There you go. That's better. Sorry, go on. Some people act as if they're a Christian.
Yeah, some people act as if they're Christian or other religions that we all know of, but majority of them pray to someone called Baal or Satan. They give back to Satan. They dedicate to Satan. I was dedicated to Satan. I was buried alive. I was saved and told that I had to give my life to them because they saved me. It's in everybody's face. It's something that happens every day.
I know that this is incredibly difficult for a lot of people to hear. Ali says that she has evidence for this. However, she's had difficulty with authorities actually taking this on board and doing anything with it. She's got reports from the Child Protection Service She's got photographic evidence, she says. But the problem is that the thing, as I'm sure you'd understand, the things that you're hearing are of such a shocking nature. According to Ally, it's too much for anyone to actually take on. I wonder how many more stories like this there are across the globe. I don't know. We're glad to have you back. I was just talking to the audience while we were waiting for you. So a few people were asking, or someone was asking whether all of this took place in America, but from what I understand, you've also been to Buckingham Palace. Is that correct?
Yes. In my time at CBS, I was taken over borders. I was taken out of the country. That should have been a problem. That should have been an FBI problem, but it wasn't. I was taken for jobs over the weekend for a few days at a time.
Right. So more than once.
More than once out of yes. Yes.
What happens at Buckingham Palace? I think she was saying she's not had these types of connectivity issues before. Someone else asking about Fiona Barnett in Australia. Yes, another story. Leave that one with me. A few people saying potentially interference. I don't know. She said she hasn't had these connectivity issues before. Her internet's fine. So let's just give it a couple more minutes and see if she can come back and continue the story, because this is only a portion of what she's been through. And naturally you can see it's not easy for her to talk about. I'm certain that discussing these things is, I mean, I can't even imagine what it would be like to have to bring this up again. But Ally is brave. She's telling her story regardless. You know, she was committed to, she actually said, how much do you want me to share? And I said, as much as you're comfortable sharing. It really is her decision how far she wants to go with this. Ally, thank you so much for joining us again today for part 2 of your story. It's good to be with you again here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry about earlier. I know everything was crazy with interference and stuff, but yeah.
No need to apologize. After yesterday, we're not sure whether it was technical issues or interference, but hopefully today we won't have the same issues. We're going to continue on with Ally's story today and let her voice be heard. Ally, when we left you yesterday, we were about to get onto the topic of Buckingham Palace. Would you like to start from where we left off yesterday?
Sure. When I was taken to Buckingham Palace, I was drugged. I was told where I was going. I was told that I would be out for transport. I was told wasn't told that it was an auction. My pimp kept telling me that I was coming home. I thought at 15 I was married to him. I had very expensive wedding rings, and I was, you know, accepting what was happening and not fighting it. And I thought we were married. I was trying to make sure that I stayed with him and not, he didn't sell me like he did his other girls. So I went into an auction there and auctions are not what people think they are. Auctions are sometimes you're standing or tied up or having to lay down naked. Some people are allowed to take samples, which means they're allowed to touch you. They're allowed to stick things inside of you. They're allowed to take blood samples if their fetish is to taste blood. They're allowed to do really crazy things. So auctions are not just stand there and bid, or somebody bids on you and you're not near them. They change, and they are crazy different. But I was taken to many auctions. I was
As if every auction is different, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Right.
And I was tied to tables. I was treated like an animal. So
you mentioned that you had this attachment to the pimp. Is this something that happens to a lot of victims? They form an attachment to these people?
Yes, you do. You're promised so many things. You're persuaded in ways that you need, something that you're missing. People, look at things like, oh, at 15, at 16, you're a troubled teen, but usually there's symptoms to a real problem by the time that you're a teenager. And acting out just doesn't mean that you're doing things because your parents said no, or something you don't agree with all the time. I was in foster care. I traveled with a trash bag. I was always somebody's toy. I was always somebody's punching bag. I was always somebody's satisfaction for something they needed, their selfish reasons. I felt seen. I felt cared about. And sometimes it takes just a little bit for you to attach to someone, and being scared. And how many times would it take for you to be abused by someone? How many times would it take for you to learn how angry and evil they can get, for you to stop fighting, for you to stop, if you can't get out of the situation, your survival instincts kick in. And they do things that will make you agree with whatever they're trying to get you into. So that happened to a lot of people.
So then well, actually, before we go back to Buckingham Palace, you mentioned to me the first time that we spoke that there are a lot of victims who are upset with you because you're speaking out, who may even still be involved in this. Is this because they feel like they are actually special, protected by these people, and they don't want that exposed? They actually want that to continue?
Yes, they feel like they're working. They're told that they're, if you pay somebody, if you give someone something, then they will give you something in return. So that means that if you've never had a home, they'll give you a home. If you wanted to be on your own and be able to have your own car, or be able to do the things that you need to be able to do, they promise you that if you just do A, B, C, or D, then you can have all of that. And then once you do A, then it gets way deeper before you get to B.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Buckingham Palace, you said that there was an auction there. Were there, again, elites present at that auction? Were there regular people? Who goes there?
Military. All kinds of people, military, judges, elites. International orders. People will fly into these auctions to pick up someone from other countries to take them back to their country. It's legal. Trafficking is legal in other countries. You can marry a 6-year-old to a 50-year-old. That's legal. There's sex tourism that's legal. But sometimes they want what they call different products. So they will travel and invest to do that, and which means kids.
How young are the children that are at these auctions?
Newborn babies to 17, 18. I mean, I don't think there's really a preference. It's what people are looking to order. And they will bring anybody in.
How do they communicate? How do they communicate with one another, Ali? How does one of these sick people say to a pimp, I want this? Do they have secret communication channels?
They do, but there's things that are out there like Craigslist, everyday sites, online sites that are hidden in plain sight. Messages are hidden in plain sight. If you go onto Craigslist right now, you would be able to find people who are offering jobs that are undercover to be able to pick up products, which are people. I know everybody has heard of the Wayfair scandal. That's real. There are many ways that they can communicate to be able to sell and trade. You are passing a trafficker, you're watching one, you are looking at one every day. Your sports, your elite, your doctors, your attorneys, your judges, your lawyers, just because, everybody wants to just look at the elite and go up to the top, but that's not it. And, I've been abused by a lot of people in elite places, but that's nothing compared to what has happened with the people in low places and the people in the middle. Your everyday trash man, your everyday social worker, your everyday teacher. There's a trafficker that's around you every day, no matter where you are. And people just don't realize that. They always want to go straight to the top because they don't want to look at the things that are local and around them.
Can I ask you on this topic, Ali? How are you aware of how these people, everyday people, successfully kidnap children, babies? How do they get away with it? What do you know? Have you seen the inner workings? Have you heard their plans?
Yes, I have. There are many tactics. It depends on what type of situation you're in. Pimps, traffickers, and Johns are not all the same thing. There's a process. There's a pickup from a pimp. So if there's somebody who's ordering for a blonde hair, blue-eyed little girl, there is a pimp that is in a local neighborhood that is shopping within the schools, that sit outside the schools, and they ask other kids, they use children recruits to say, hey, who's having issues at home? Hey, and this kid that is talking to them thinks that they're in a relationship. They may be having problems at home. They may just need someone to talk to. They may just be trusting and thinking that they're confiding in someone that they're being listened to by. And these people are shopping within local neighborhoods. They go through the schools. Just a scenario. They are shopping for this blonde hair, blue-eyed girl. They look into the schools. They say, okay, who's having trouble? Who walks home? Who will come to a sleepover? Whose parents let them do whatever, whose parents are strict. They find out who's having issues, who's in foster care. They do this through children. This is not just you're not just looking for the scariest person that you can think of that looks like they're going to eat you. That's the TV mentality and the the narrative that people want you to see as in human trafficking, that you're going to be looking for this big and scary person, and it's not. And after this pimp finds this blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl, then there's a profit, not just on selling that child for sex, not just on if that child dies, there's a profit on their organs as well. If that pimp has a connection to traffickers at the border, then that helps us with human suitcase smuggling.
What's human suitcase smuggling?
It's when they will empty your body out for all of your important organs, and they will use your empty corpse to smuggle drugs through. In trafficking, it's not just about sex. It's not just about a bad job gone wrong. You can sell drugs, drug trafficking. You can sell drugs and get a shipment of drugs once or twice, and then still have to try to find that shipment again and may not be able to get it. But a human you can sell over and over and over again until there is literally nothing left. And this is what they do. Organ harvesting is real. There's the joke of you can go somewhere and you can get a heart cheaper than you can at the hospital. The hospital prices to get a kidney transplant are insane. And sometimes they're given to people because they put them in a ranking because the hospitals are complicit, and people wonder where that stuff comes from, and it comes from victims. And after they have this blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl, then they're going to say, hey, I can make so much money with this one if I can get a shipment of 3 more children that someone is wanting or looking for. If they have a certain type of fetish, then they have to go out and they have to be able to get them all together if they want to sell them all together to the traffickers who place them somewhere, or who are able to do the transportation, or who are making those deals, the major deals. Then they have to get these kids to a certain spot, to a certain place. If these kids are crying, if they're freaking out, if they're sick, if they're fighting, this makes it harder for pimps. This makes it harder for them to get their jobs done. This makes it harder for them to meet deadlines. They get sloppy, they get angry, and things happen. Sometimes kids don't make it to where they were supposed to go if a pimp was supposed to get them to another trafficker. It's not just right, so many things can happen in a matter of seconds, but you don't usually go straight into jobs. If someone grabs you, if you meet a pimp on the street, if you meet someone online, you don't just straight out say, okay, I'm going straight to elite escorting. No, that's not the way it works. It depends on if you're a virgin or not. It depends on who you are. It depends on who's looking for you. It depends on what they need, and it depends on how angry they get. Right. It's an extreme process. It's crazy. It's an industry.
So there's a level of, what you're saying is there's a level of conditioning that a child needs to be subjected to before they reach the elites, because they have to be essentially broken down to the point where they completely accept what's happening to them before they get to that stage. Is that what you mean?
Yes, they're built into the perfect slave. You cannot have someone right off the street crying and losing their mind over a small job and go into an elite job, and it happens that way, unless it's a job where they want you crying and screaming. That's not going to work out. So yeah, it's a process.
Right. Okay. I wanted to talk to you about the fact that, because people are saying, you've got lots of people that doubt your story, Ally, you and many others that speak about these topics. What do you say to those people? Because I you shared with me that you've actually had to be on the run essentially for several months now. What do you say to those people?
It's up to you to do something. It's the burden of responsibility, and there's the burden and the responsibility of proof is on who's listening. When you make a call to Child Protective Services and you say, hey, I hear someone abusing a kid. I may be next door and I hear someone possibly abusing a kid. I don't know what's going on, but I need you to investigate that. The burden of proof then relies on that person that they called. I'm nobody special. I don't I don't need anyone to do anything for me or believe me. It's not just happening to just me. It didn't just happen to just me. It happens every day. It happens all over the world. I know so many people that are sitting here can probably tell you that they only know a handful of people in their life that have not been abused, molested, in some type of horrific situation that they've had to get out of. Crimes against humanity is not a religious, gender, any type of other issue that anybody wants to point to. It's a humanity issue. It's my truth, and that's all. It's truth is the truth. It's priceless. That's all I got.
Right. And what is your aim in speaking out? Are you hoping that it'll give other victims the courage to speak out? Because I know that you said that you've got evidence, but you don't know where to take it.
At this point, yes, I just bringing awareness that people need to wake up. People need to see that the real pandemic is human trafficking. All roads lead to trafficking. There's other children that need your help. So many survivors, so many victims that are still in this life call me a traitor. After I ran away, after I escaped, and did what I had to do, pimps were telling people that were around me, girls and guys that were around me, that I stole from them, that I made their debt deeper, that it was my fault because I left, that they have to work harder. The lies are insane, and I did what I had to do to take a minute to see that you don't have, there's not a condition to being loved, and to just being loved. There are no conditions, and you don't have to be someone's puppet, and you don't have to be someone's slave, and you don't have to be someone's sex toy. You don't have to do what someone tells you to do because they want satisfaction. It took me forever to realize that. It took me forever to see that somebody could possibly want me. I even pushed my mom away. By the time she tried to adopt me, I kept pushing her away because it was a lot for me to see that somebody actually wanted me. And I know it's a lot to take in. I know my story is a lot, but there are people way worse off than me. I'm blessed that these are the only things that have happened to me, because I know that so many people have it worse. So for them, please wake up. For them, please move. For them, please stand and fight, because there's so many people who need you to be their voice. There are so many souls that cannot rest. I've seen many of my friends die. I've seen Many kids that I didn't get a chance to talk to or meet or know them personally. You will never get to hear their laugh, their favorite color. You will never get to know their real names. Because so many people want to push this under the rug, and so many people want to say it's not true and it doesn't happen. And it's better off to not listen to it because it's too dark and it's uncomfortable. So many people had to get uncomfortable and realize that COVID was real. So many people had to get uncomfortable and realize that there's something going on with this world, that things keep coming out and it's not making any sense to anyone. Where do you think it all comes from, and how many years do you think people have been working on it? There's children who need you. There's children who have been murdered. There are children who, people, I'm not really with the BLM movement. I don't respect it at all. I know the power of my skin, so I don't have to tell you what I'm Black. We don't have to do that. But the whole situation with George Floyd, this was a man who was a convict, and everybody said that they heard him from around the world cry for his mama. And that was what made everybody get out into the streets and what made everybody so angry, and it's still ongoing today as it is. We have murals, we have people who have drawn awareness signs in the middle of busy streets, and there are children that are crying right now to let me go, please let me up, please let me go home, you're hurting me, and no one hears them. There are so many children who cry for their mama, and they're somebody to just help, somebody to do something, somebody to stop what's going on, and nobody wants to talk about them. Nobody wants to touch it at all, and it's wrong. It's wrong. And I don't care if you don't believe me. It happened to me. And it's happening everywhere. And they need you.
Through you speaking out, have you managed to connect with other survivors and other people that have escaped this horrific experience?
Yes.
Is there a way that is going to raise enough awareness so that some authority figure is going to do something about this, or have you completely lost faith in all authorities?
My faith in authorities is just about gone. I'm praying that there is someone that exists. I know that there is someone that exists, but maybe just as much as everybody else is being shadow banned, censored, and silenced, I'm pretty sure they're going through the same thing. So I pray that there is a person somewhere to do something, to push forward, to come out and tell the truth. There are too many who need your help. Can you think about how many children are in child protective services custody, orphanages, foster homes, shelters? There's too many that need help, that need to be spoken for.
We've got the Ghislaine Maxwell trial happening right now, and there's the trial tracker has been taken down off Twitter, who was there reporting unbiased. No mainstream wants to touch it. Now, for anyone who's not following Trial Tracker on Instagram, she's still not been taken down. So please get onto that. Maxwell yesterday, I posted, refused to testify, saying that there wasn't enough evidence against her for her to need to testify. The court hadn't proven the case in order for her to need to testify. You mentioned in a recent interview that you believed that Trump was doing something about this. And from what I understand, you'd never seen President Trump at any of these places. Is that correct?
No, never seen him.
Do you know anyone who's seen him in any of these places?
I have heard that he has been to fashion shows. To be honest with you, there has been someone who has told me they have seen him backstage in fashion shows. I do not know what happens, but if you talk to any adult entertainer, nothing good happens backstage. Um, I don't know that nothing in my experience I can say happened to me with Trump, but I can see that he is the only president that has touched the subject, talked about the subject, um, given money to organizations to do something about trafficking survivors. Now, my thing is I don't know, I don't see where that money is going, because I don't see one organization that is actually doing the right thing, besides promotions, recycling, and using old pictures to get money for memberships for, and using 501c3s as a cover up for hush money. I don't see any real organizations doing anything. I have not been able to talk to one real organization that has told me that I do not meet the criteria and the guidelines for them to, in order for them to help. I don't know what is going to happen, but I do believe that Trump has brought it at least to the surface. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's done much, but it has done a lot to bringing it to the surface. No one wants to touch it, as you said with the Maxwell trial. No one wants to open the black book. Those laptops matter, and no one wants to talk about the celebrities, the people that were involved, the people that worked for them, the people in the middle, the people on the bottom, the grunt workers, from the people who clean the sex toys to the people who made the orders and got onto the planes. You have not heard mainstream media talk about it whatsoever, but mainstream media will pull out another narrative for you to be distracted by, for you to be upset with somebody, to create division amongst races, to just fear monger, but we won't talk about the things that are actually scary.
Have you seen a particular pattern? I mean, I know what my thoughts are around this, but biggest trial in, I don't know, ever, human history, and not a peep, yet we're talking about a variant with extremely mild symptoms as if it's going to end the planet.
Yeah.
I believe that's a distraction.
Exactly. A very smart variant that knows when you go into a restaurant, take a seat, and when you have food in your mouth. It's beyond ridiculous how well whoever runs things, I do not know who sits at the top, but it's sad how much they know that people are easily distracted, and how they play on everyone's intelligence, because they can tell you, look here, look there, be upset about this, be distracted by this, because please do not look towards the Maxwell trial. Please do not look towards the everyday people that you idolize, that you stream their music, that you sign their paychecks, that we put our monies into, or put our monies, excuse me, I'm a college student, I promise, I'm just really stressed out. Banks that we put our money into. I know people have heard about JP Morgan being involved in the Epstein trial. Stores that we buy our clothes from, Walmart, Wayfair, Target, fast food that we go into, when McDonald's is saying, hey, it's real chicken now, it's real meat now, but nobody was asking, well, what was it before? This is the app. There could be no bigger. This is bigger than the OJ trial. This is something that should be streamed, like the recent Rittenhouse trial. I understand that it's a federal case and we cannot have cameras in the courtroom or whatever, but people are shutting down news articles, people are shutting down Twitter accounts, people are shutting down anyone trying to give out information. Why is that? The reason why is because everybody that's shutting it down and won't talk about it are customers. Everybody that will refuses to say anything about the trial, those are the people that you should be questioning. Especially any news anchor, news channel, local news This should be something that you turn around to like you turn around to a 6-foot socially distanced COVID sticker. Everybody is talking about the wrong things. And trust me, if you knew what was really going on, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night. You would throw up the way I do every night. You would probably have equal to PTSD just from understanding what is happening to someone else's child or to someone else right now. It could be you. It could be your child. And everybody wants to wait until it's personal to say something or to do something. And why do we have to wait for it to get there? Everybody would rather say, you know, what's going on in the elite's home? What's happening in Beyonce's home? What's happening in Steven Tyler's home? Or what's happening in your home? Because, you know, you got to get your backyard first. And nobody wants to kick out that pedophile of the family. Nobody wants to talk about that person that we shouldn't be bringing around. Nobody ever wants to look at what's really going on. All roads lead to trafficking.
You mentioned, and this is so crucial, because you mentioned the fact that, you know, some of these people will pray outside of a school and, you know, look for traumatized children. But it's not just those children. There are children that go missing from regular homes.
Yes.
You know, when they're playing in the backyard or in the front or down at the corner store. There are children that go missing from good homes.
Mm-hmm.
What can parents do to protect themselves from this? Because this is real too, right?
Right. First of all, do not be in denial. Do not think that it cannot happen to mine. Do not think that I live in a nice home, or I live in a gated community, or I live somewhere that doesn't exist. Again, human trafficking doesn't have an age, sex, or preference on it. If they need their product, they need their product, and they will do what they have to do. Your children are being groomed on games like Roblox, apps like TikTok, games like Fortnite. Your online is a whole different world now than it was 10 years ago. Especially with COVID slowing everyone down. COVID has had its positive benefits. It has slowed everyone down and made everybody see that, hey, what is going on around me? What is going on in my child's classroom? What is going on at school? And because kids are not in school, it's making it harder. That time that everybody was in the home being quarantined, it made it harder for pimps and for traffickers, because that cut off their supply for a second. Children weren't where they usually would be. Everybody had them in the house. A lot of people were scared. So it kind of cut down the supply. Now you see pimps hacking the online Zoom school systems, shopping through things like OnlyFans. It happens to everyone. And the best thing that you can do is educate yourself and then educate your child. You do not have to scare them. You do not have to give them something graphic if they're 7 or 8 years old. You don't have to, put fear in them. It's better to be prepared than it's better to be scared, and as a kid, you can explain it to them in a way that they understand, especially, your child. If you have foster kids, it's important. Any child it is important to explain to children what is going on in a way that they can understand, so that they can be prepared. Not walk home with complete headphones in. Let them know the danger of walking home with your headphones completely in and blasting. Let them know not to let anybody get too close to them. They have to know that other children can be recruits. So be careful who you're talking to, who you're giving information to. It's okay to confide in someone, but be careful what you say to people. As in your personal information, when somebody is digging, be who you needed, because I 9 times out of 10, anyone as a parent, you are learning and you are building mistakes from your childhood. You're growing from the things that you've seen, things that happen to you, and you now have to be who you needed, because you don't get a handbook when it's time to parent. You shouldn't have to pay a subscription fee or a membership or a $3.99 special to get the information that should be priceless for you to take care of your child. Your child is not a commodity, it's your child. And they shouldn't have to break and have to put the pieces back together when they get older either. So educate, research, listen, because if you think that it can't happen to you, you are in denial. That's wrong. It doesn't have a preference on it. When people start realizing what's really wrong, everyone will be able to come together and stop what's going on. This is a part, human trafficking is a part of a very well-made machine. And it's not the type of machine that just a piece of it is broken. The whole machine needs to be taken down. The whole machine is done. And somebody needs to do something. And I pray that there is somebody in power or somebody that has the clearance or the power to do something for everyone and to make everyone move. This is not just a money issue. You can't just throw money at this and it's just going to magically be okay. And you can't expect someone else to fix it. This takes people, everyday people standing up. Your authorities are involved. Every authority that you think that you can trust is involved.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
How long have you been doing this?
12 years now.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
Timoteo, por rescatar niños, ¿verdad? Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Te lo prometo.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
Which means she'll disappear for good. Imagine walking into her room right now, seeing an empty bed. What we do?
You quit your job, and you go and rescue those kids.
At this moment, she could be a block down the road, or she could be at Moscow, Bangkok, LA. She's a major operator.
It's all rebel territory. No one goes in. Not the army, not the police, not us.
What if this was your daughter?
There's no Marine unit coming.
You're on your own. This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance.